Good morning. Hi, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to Baruch College's Class of 2018 Commencement Ceremony. I'm Marco DeSena, and I see some students in the audience who may know me as a lecturer in the Austin W. Marks School of Public and International Affairs. Today, I have the added honor of serving as Chief Marshal on this memorable day. As such, please let me welcome everyone, soon-to-be graduates, Baruch College staff and faculty, and of course the VIPs. By that I mean your family and friends who got you to this point. As a Baruch alumnus myself, of the very school in which I now teach, I am even more excited and proud to be with you on your graduation day. Allow me to briefly describe some of today's unique oddities before things commence. First, that word commencement means to begin. As all endings lead to new beginnings, today marks the end of your studies and the beginning of the next exciting phase of your lives. Commencement ceremonies around the world are quite similar, as many of the shared rituals rooted in Latin can actually be traced back to the Middle Ages. Back then, the church had great influence over the early European university systems, which is why some of the exercises you'll see today resemble religious customs. Most obvious is the super stylish attire, the caps and the gowns, which resemble vestments worn by medieval clergy. Minor symbolic differences reflect the levels of academic achievement. The hoods, for instance, the colors indicate fields of study: gold for science, dark blue for philosophy, and copper for economics. Even the hood's length reflects the wearer's degree, with doctorate recipients the longest. Lastly, the smallest but most fun part, the tassels. You all who have a mortarboard, this is your hat, that's what they call the hat, have these hanging off. For undergraduates, you haven't yet received your bachelor's degree, so your tassels should be on the right side of your mortarboard hat. Once degrees are conferred, at that magic time, you'll move them, shift them from the right to the left. For master's and doctoral candidates, yours should be and will stay on the left, like mine. Only undergrads get to have fun with these. Now that that's clear, let me quickly explain how the ceremony will go. First, the procession. The three schools of Baruch College, Mark School of Public and International Affairs, the Weizmann School of Arts and Sciences, and of course the Zicklin School of Business, will be represented by outstanding students bearing each school's banner. Then faculty will proceed into the arena, followed by faculty marshals, and lastly, the presidential party. Once President Wallerstein takes the stage, the ceremony will officially begin. Before I end, some quick but very important announcements. Now is a great time to silence all your phones and other devices. I don't know what other devices, but don't worry, you can still take pictures. But remember, today is for everyone to enjoy. We're all eager to see friends and family graduate as you are, so please don't get out of your seat or block anyone's view. There'll be plenty of time to take that perfect snap later on. In fact, after the ceremony, we'll have stations set up outside on the plaza for that perfect, no-filter Instagram shot. Even our lovable mascot, the Baruch Bearcat, will be out there. And lastly, like everywhere else in the world, you cannot smoke in here. I don't know who thinks you can. Thank you for your attention, cooperation, and excitement. Once again, let me welcome all of you to your 2018 Baruch College Commencement. Congratulations on getting here. Have a great day.
Now entering the hall, representing candidates for the degrees of Master of Public Administration, Executive Master of Public Administration, Master of Science in Education, in Educational Leadership, Master of Science in Education, Higher Education, is Christina Van Hall, carrying the banner for the Mark School of Public and International Affairs. Now entering the hall, representing candidates for the degrees of Master of Arts in Corporate Communication, Master of Arts in Mental Health Counseling, Master of Science in Industrial and Organizational Psychology, and the Master of Science in Financial Engineering is Philip Yago, carrying the banner for George and Mildred Wiseman School of Arts and Science. Now entering the hall, representing candidates for the degrees of Master of Business Administration, Executive Masters of Business Administration, Master of Business in Healthcare Administration, Master of Science in Business, Executive Master of Science, International Executive Master of Science, and the Master of Science in Industrial and Labor Relations is Mariah Jo Audi Souza Tadeo, carrying the banner for Sigmund School of Business. Now entering the hall, representing candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science is William Klein, carrying the banner for the Mark School of Public and International Affairs. Now entering the hall, representing candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, is Natalie Hang Escobar, carrying the banner for George and Mildred Weissman School of Arts and Science. Now entering the hall, representing candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Business Administration, is Marcy Teichman, carrying the banner for Zicklin School of Business. Now entering the hall representing the distinguished alumni of Baruch College, celebrating their 50th and 60th reunion, member of the class of 1958 and 1968. All guests, please stand and remain standing. Now entering the hall, the faculty of Mark School of International and Public Affairs, the Mildred and George Wiseman School of Arts and Science, and the Zicklin School of Business of Baruch College, followed by the commencement faculty marshals. Now entering the hall in the position of highest honor, the distinguished platform party, City University of New York trustee Barry Schwartz, City University of New York Chancellor James B. Milliken, and the president of Baruch College, Mitchell B. Wallerstein. Leading the platform party is Faculty Chief Marshal Marco DeSena.
Mr. President, the hour is at hand. The guests are assembled. May these proceedings begin. As the opening for the event, let us all rise for the national anthem, which will be led by Teresa Parker, director of the Baruch College Chorus.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Good morning and welcome to the 2018 commencement of Baruch College. I am honored to be your host on this festive occasion. It is truly a memorable day for all of our graduates, their families, and friends. Baruch College is proud to be a most distinguished senior college in the City University of New York. At any given time, there are more than 250,000 students pursuing degrees at CUNY colleges. Within this amazing system, Baruch has earned a national reputation as an engine for the economic and social mobility of its students, propelling many incoming students from the bottom 40th percent of household incomes to the top 40th percent during their careers. A Baruch education literally transforms lives. Now it is my pleasure to introduce to you the person who has led Baruch through a period of historic growth and improvement, President Mitchell B. Wallerstein.
Good morning. What a wonderful turnout we have here today. Before we get into the main part of the festivities, I am delighted that we have a special guest here at today's ceremony, someone who has come on short notice, taking time out of his busy schedule. Senator Charles Schumer has been a great friend of Baruch College and CUNY for many years, and we are honored that he has returned once again to celebrate the 2018 commencement ceremonies. Born and raised right here in Brooklyn, where he still lives, Chuck has been a United States Senator since 1998. He now serves in the vitally important role of Senate Minority Leader, and in that capacity, he is the chief spokesperson for the Democratic Party and a voice of reason in the United States Senate. Students, you will also appreciate this fact. Senator Schumer was the valedictorian of James Madison High School, and he scored a perfect 1,600 on his SATs, which helped get him admitted to Harvard. He could have also gone to Baruch, of course. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our senior senator from the state of New York, Senator Charles Schumer.
Well, thank you, President Wallerstein. And first, to the class of 2018, Baruch, congratulations. You've made it. First, I'd like to return the compliment to President Wallerstein and all of Baruch. This is one of the finest institutions of higher learning, not just in New York City, but in our whole country. So to the entire Baruch staff and student body, congratulations, job well done. I'd like to also acknowledge a friend of mine, a 1965 graduate of Baruch, who's one of those people who made it and has never forgotten where he came from, Austin Marks. Congratulations to him. And first, I'd like to announce my class gift. Now, you know it's hard to pay for college. If you're poor, the federal government helps you out. That's a good thing. But what about the middle class? So a few years ago, I wrote a law that said you or your parents, whoever paid for college or graduate school, this is for graduate school too, can take as a full tax credit $2,500 off your federal taxes to help defray the cost of tuition, provided, in Washington, there's always a provided your family income is below $200,000 a year. So, if you come from a family that makes below $200,000, make sure you or mom or dad takes that credit. It's relatively new, and last year, a quarter of all the people who are entitled to it didn't do it. If you forgot over the last 3 years, you can file a simple form with the IRS and get up to 3 years back, a check in the mail of up to $7,500. Not bad. Now, what happens if you come from a family that makes above $200,000 a year? God bless you. I'd like to say a word to the moms and dads. I know how you feel. A few short years ago, my wife Iris and I sat where you did, watched our daughter come up on the platform, get her diploma. It was one of the greatest days of our lives. But these days, it's not easy raising kids. If you're like us, you probably think back to the tough times. We remembered when Jessica was 4 months old, she had 106.5 fever. We had to rush her to the hospital. We didn't think she'd make it. Praise God, she did. We remembered when we put her on the kindergarten bus for the first time. And as the bus pulled away, she ran to the back of the bus, waved goodbye, tears streaming down her cheeks. But when the bus came back at 2 o'clock and Iris went to meet her, she bounded off the bus, happy as could be. She said, "Mommy, I came back." When we talked to her that night, we realized what was going on in her little brain. She thought that was it. New parents, new family, new house, new neighborhood. Then we remembered Jessie as a teenager, when she didn't say much to us. And when she did, we didn't understand a word she said. And then moms and dads, you see your daughters and sons come up on the stage, get that diploma, and become an adult before your very eyes. Congratulations to the moms and dads. Now, to this great class of Baruch 2018, you're graduating at a very, very difficult time. It's a time of enormous change across the country and around the world. Things are moving so very, very fast. In the old days, for instance, you graduated from college, the odds were pretty high that you'd stay in the same job or at least in the same field for 40 years. That's not so true anymore. Many of you will have several jobs, even several different careers. Along with these changes, the internet has put so much information at your fingertips, it's sometimes hard to figure out what's important and to distinguish between what's true and what isn't. And even around the world, there have been a whole lot of changes, some not for the better. When I graduated from college, words like terrorism or mass shootings were never even heard about. But here's the good news. Your generation is better equipped to adapt to and take advantage of these new changes than any generation before you. First, as President Wallerstein mentioned, you've gotten a great education here at Baruch. You know, only about 1/3 of all young people your age will get a college degree, and your college degree is among the very, very best. Second, as I mentioned, you have families, and they're going to have your back through thick and thin. And third, you're the first generation to grow up totally familiar with all this new technology. You know, your parents, your teachers, me, the older generation, we try to get used to this new technology, but it's hard for us. But you were born into it. Technology is to your generation like water is to a fish. You've been swimming in it for your whole life. So, your generation is better equipped to overcome the obstacles the new world presents, better equipped to seize the opportunities the new world affords, and better equipped to pursue your passions, to dream big dreams, and maybe even accomplish big things. Right now, though, sitting in your seats, you may not be sure of what's coming next. With so much of the world changing so quickly, it may sometimes feel like you're jumping into an abyss. But the key, graduates, is this: do not fear the unknown. Do not fear change. Embrace it. Relish it. Soak it up. Don't let one big setback stand in your way. Because if you embrace change and don't let the fear of failing deter you, the odds are very high with your advantages that you will succeed. Now, how do I know? I've experienced these things myself. When I was seated at college graduation, a couple of decades back, as you are today, I had just learned that I had won a scholarship to travel all around the world, all expenses paid for a whole year. For me, a kid from Brooklyn, it was the opportunity of a lifetime. I had never been out of the country before. But graduates, at the same time, I met a girl and I fell in love. I know what you're thinking. Aww. So I had to decide, do I go around the world on the all-expense-paid scholarship for a whole year? Or do I stay home with the girl, my first true love? Class of 2018, what would you have done? President Wallerstein, the class is divided. I stayed home with the girl. Don't clap yet, you romantics in the corner over there. The story continues. That summer, she went on a brief vacation, and I went to the airport to meet her on her return. As soon as she got off the plane, I saw by the look on her face something was the matter. She dumped me by Labor Day. There I was, no scholarship, no trip around the world, no girl. I said to myself, what a loser you are. You're never going to make anything of yourself. Forget about it. Give it up. And in fact, I sat in my house for a few months, moped around, felt bad for myself. But somehow I picked myself up, dusted myself off, and moved forward. And a few years later, I found myself seated at graduation once again, this time from law school. But on the way home from law school, I told Mom and Dad that I was not going to join the fancy law firm like we had planned. I told them I loved politics. I told them even though it was hard to get to, my dream was to run for office. My parents were shocked. My mother was particularly disappointed. You see, I grew up, like many of you, in a working-class family. My dad was an exterminator, never went to college, never made much money. And the law firm was paying $400 a week. That was more money than my family had ever seen. But my heart was to run for office. That was my dream. And so that fall, at the age of 23 and against very long odds, I ran for the New York State Assembly, and I had 3 opponents. There was the party machine candidate, there was a neighborhood activist, and then there was my mother, who was telling all her friends not to vote for me. So as she said, I get this dumb idea of being a politician out of my big, thick head. Well, graduates, a few years earlier, I sure as heck didn't get that girl. But that November, I won the election. So, to this great class of 2018, on this great day of your achievement, my advice to you is take the risk. Don't let a big setback, no matter how big it seems at the time, deter you. You know, for those of us who have gotten older and look back on life, one of the most painful things to think about is the what-ifs. What if we had only done this? What if we had only gone there? So my advice to the class of 2018 is simple. Go for it. You're about to cast off into the unknown. It can sometimes be very scary, but you've got great assets, great education, great families, familiarity with technology. So, garner up your courage, garner up your strength, put aside your doubts, take a chance, and if you do, it is not only my hope, it's not only my prayer, it's my confidence that you will find true success and true joy in life. To this great class of 2018, congratulations. Good luck. Godspeed, and don't forget, go for it.
Thank you, Senator Schumer, for making the time to join us this morning and for those thoughtful words to the graduates. I'm delighted to welcome all of our graduating students, their families and friends, returning alumni from the classes of 1958 and 1968, the distinguished members of our faculty who are seated behind me, Chancellor James B. Milliken, Mr. Barry Schwartz, the Vice Chair of the CUNY Board of Trustees, and our two outstanding honorary degree recipients, Dr. Jane Chu and Mr. Austin Marks, who is a trustee of the Baruch College Fund and a most generous alumnus. As president of the college, I take great pride in the fact that today we are conferring more than 3,800 undergraduate degrees and 1,200 graduate degrees. Baruch is an incredible institution and a stellar college within the nation's largest urban university system, the City University of New York. CUNY is home to 24 academic entities, including 11 senior colleges, 7 community colleges, and 6 graduate honors and professional schools. It is an enormous enterprise and one that rightly earns the reputation as the American dream machine. Today, we are honored to have 2 distinguished leaders from CUNY here to celebrate your graduation. Barry Schwartz, who will offer his greetings momentarily, is, as I said, is Vice Chair of the CUNY Board of Trustees, and Chancellor James B. Milliken, who is here to congratulate you personally on this most auspicious occasion and to bring greetings on behalf of the CUNY Chancellery. Since joining CUNY in 2014, Chancellor Milliken has advanced a broad portfolio of initiatives across the system. He launched a new school of medicine and a successful independent school of public health. Our community colleges are on track to double their graduation rates, making them national leaders. Chancellor Milliken also put in place new initiatives to diversify the arts institutions in New York, provide comprehensive support for foster youth, increase women and minorities in tech, and much more. Excuse me. It has been my pleasure to work with J.B. Milliken over the past 4 years, and now it is my honor to introduce him to you all. Chancellor, may I invite you to the podium.
Thank you, President Wallerstein. Very happy to be with all of you today. This is one of my last days as Chancellor, and I'm spending it exactly as I want to, with you, the remarkable students of CUNY and Baruch, your families and other loved ones who've supported you, the faculty and staff who've guided and nurtured your success. Today is one of those days that captures the essence of this institution. The opportunity, the hard work, the perseverance, the love and support, the success, and optimism. I wouldn't trade this moment or any of my time at CUNY for anything. So I'm delighted to share the stage this morning with many distinguished individuals, but particularly 2 friends of mine and Baruch alumni who have done so much to advance the institution they love, Austin Marks and Max Berger. On behalf of CUNY, thank you to both of you. Baruch College and the City University of New York are not merely educational institutions. We're part of a cause, a mission. that has only become more urgent, more essential to the success of our city and our nation since its founding 170 years ago. We helped turn this country's greatest resource, talent, into a force for innovation and creative and competitive strength. Now, I'm told that in this class, the class of 2018 at Baruch, you trace your heritage to some 160 countries and speak 130 languages. You're global in perspective, intellectually nimble, budding leaders. You worked immensely hard to get into Baruch, and even harder to succeed in earning your degrees. Supported, of course, by an outstanding faculty and staff. These diplomas that you have earned are not just badges of completion, but of courage, of persistence, and of great success. You represent the essential challenge of higher education in this country and what CUNY does as a national leader in addressing that challenge, and we need it today more than we have ever needed it before. It's a time when higher education is more important than ever to individual success and also to the competitiveness of our country. And CUNY and Baruch have always been places of opportunity for immigrants, for underrepresented students, for low-income students. And that is what makes America great. So here's why. Talent is distributed equally in our society without regard to economic or social background, or race, or ethnicity, or religion. But opportunity is still stubbornly highly correlated with wealth. The greatest predictor of wealth today is no different than it was 100 years ago. That is whether you were born into a family of wealth and power. It's not just unfair, but it presents a great threat because it risks wasting a vast supply of the thing we need most, talent and ambition. The difference makers, institutions that do the most to ensure that opportunity is equally shared, are CUNY and Baruch College. That's why Baruch and CUNY are recognized as the nation's greatest engines of social and economic mobility. In one of the most important studies ever done on higher education on social mobility, CUNY's record was unparalleled. Of the top 10 schools in the country that moved the most students from the lowest quintile of wealth to the middle class and beyond, of the top 10, 6 were CUNY colleges. And number 1 on the list, Baruch College. That's why our ads in the subway say that CUNY propels 6 times the number of students to the middle class and beyond as the 8 Ivy Leagues plus Duke, MIT, Chicago, and Stanford combined, and why we unabashedly say that CUNY is the greatest urban university in the world, because we're measuring it by something that matters, and Baruch is leading the way. This class and all the students of Baruch and CUNY fill me with pride and optimism. Optimism for a future that will be more equitable, more peaceful, more inclusive, and more successful than today. That will make this city and this country great for everyone. Thanks for all you've done. Good luck to you, God bless you, and best wishes. You will continue to make us all proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Milliken. We are so pleased that you were able to be with us today, and we wish you all the best as you complete your service at CUNY. Now, to bring greetings from the broader CUNY Board of Trustees, I am pleased to introduce Barry Schwartz, who serves as Vice Chair of the Board. Barry was appointed to the CUNY Board in 2014 by Governor Andrew Cuomo, and he brings broad experience serving in other academic governance boards. He is Chair of the Board of Trustees at Kenyon College, a member of the Georgetown University Law Center Board of Visitors, and a member of the Board of Directors of the New York City Center, Jazz at Lincoln Center, and Human Rights First. A lawyer by training and expertise, Barry Schwartz has been Executive Vice Chairman of McAndrews and Forbes Holding since 2007. He previously was the firm's Executive Vice President and General Counsel. Trustee Schwartz, I invite you to address the graduates.
Good morning to you all. Chancellor Milliken, President Wallerstein, Provost Christie, Max Berger, honorary degree recipients, Jane Chu and Austin Marks, distinguished members of the faculty, family and friends, and most importantly, the Baruch graduating class of 2018. I am deeply honored to be here with you this morning to bring you greetings from the CUNY Board of Trustees. Today represents an impressive milestone in your lives, and one that I know you share not only with your families and friends, but with the entire Baruch community. And I'd like us to take just a moment to acknowledge all of the people who have helped you along your journey here at Baruch, as we all stand on the shoulders of others, most particularly your faculty, your great inspiring teachers. Let us applaud all of them, faculty, friends, family, for the encouragement they have given you to get you to this day. You, the class of 2018, should all be very proud of yourselves. Because of your work, your sacrifice, and your commitment, today you will receive a priceless degree from one, as you have heard, from one of the nation's best public colleges. One of the nation's best public colleges. And truly, among the shining stars in the constellation of stars at the City University of New York. I encourage all of you to use your skills and your talents that are represented by your Baruch degree to help as best you can make our world a better place. Engage in your communities. Speak up for those who can't. Speak out against injustice. Pursue your lives with courage, confidence, and compassion. And most importantly, find love and find meaningful work. As I recently read in a piece the other day that paraphrased Sigmund Freud, if you get love and work right, you've sort of figured it all out. And I urge you to engage in your lives to figure it all out. Your path to purposeful work, as you heard from Senator Schumer, is most likely not clear. Don't be discouraged. Indeed, if it was clear, you're probably on someone else's path and not your own. So get ready for bumps, twists, and turns. You are prepared for them. Your Baruch experiences have prepared you for them. One day, you will arrive where you should be and be who you are, and the line will look very straight to you. But remember, when that day comes, you'll be looking back, and it will look straight. Until you get there, lots of twists, lots of turns, lots of bumps. Finally, I'd like to conclude on a personal note and say something to my dear friend, Max Berger, of the class of 1968, whose friends are here with him to celebrate their 50 years since graduation. Max, you are a credit to this great college. Your devotion to it has been nothing short of extraordinary and, most importantly, quite admirable. And to all of you, the class of 2018, there is no better role model for you to follow than this man up here, graduated 50 years ago, my friend, Max Berger. Thank you, Max. And to another friend, Chancellor Milliken. You have served this university with distinction, with passion, and with integrity. And you have brought us a vision of how we can do better in the years ahead. JB, I will miss our almost daily exchanges. You have become a dear, close, personal friend, and thank you for that. And most importantly, thank you, Chancellor Milliken, for your leadership. On behalf of all of us at CUNY, I extend to you, the class of 2018, my very best wishes for a bright and satisfying future. Good luck, and thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Schwartz. It's an honor to have you and the Chancellor with us this morning. I'd now like to take a few minutes myself to address the class of 2018 and our many hundreds of graduate students. To the members of the class of 2018 and to our graduate students, we are gathered here today to mark the end of your journey at Baruch. But of course, we are also celebrating the beginning, or commencement, of your lives as Baruch graduates and young professionals. And the timing couldn't be better. Our city and our country desperately need graduates like you, as you have already heard multiple times this morning. We are confronting complex and far-reaching problems, such as growing socioeconomic inequality, deteriorating healthcare and physical infrastructure, and the looming threat of global climate change. Yet we find our domestic political process mired in hyper-partisan division, mistrust, anger, and yes, in some cases, outright hate and bigotry. While we are principally concerned with how these problems play out here at home, we see evidence across the globe of increasingly polarized political processes that pit proponents of nationalism and populism against proponents of globalism. Here in the U.S., we witnessed this phenomenon in the 2016 campaign that brought our current president to the White House, running on an explicit anti-immigrant and trade protectionist platform. Anti-immigration advocates also ran a successful campaign in the United Kingdom to convince Britons to break away from the European Union. And more recently, in countries such as Poland and Hungary, firebrand nationalists were elected on an anti-immigrant platform promising to fortify their borders against refugees and economic migrants. Here at Baruch College and in the City University of New York as a whole, we take great pride in our diversity, our multiculturalism, and our welcoming environment for all who wish to pursue higher education. Indeed, we admit all qualified students, and we do not ask whether an individual is or is not documented. I like to say that the students who attend Baruch represent the world. They and their families, as you heard, come from 168 different countries, and they speak more than 130 different languages in their homes. So I think it's fair to say that the Baruch community falls squarely on the side of maintaining open doors and international engagement. As one of the most ethnically diverse colleges in the country, it is our goal to educate students who are rooted in and proud of their national, ethnic, religious, and racial identities, but who also recognize that the world is an increasingly interconnected place. Facilitated by the internet and the speed of global communications and travel, we strive to develop citizens and future professionals who can collaborate effectively across racial, ethnic, and religious lines, and who appreciate the value and the importance of international engagement and respect for those who come from different backgrounds. For example, no matter what your nationality or political orientation, it is increasingly difficult to ignore the growing preponderance of scientific evidence that climate change is real and it is accelerating. It is also clear that the problems and challenges that climate change is causing can only be solved through global cooperation and engagement. Among the many manifestations of global climate change are more violent and frequent storms, devastating droughts and forest fires, the melting of the polar ice caps, and rising sea levels that are already beginning to threaten coastal cities such as New York and Miami, as well as small island nations. And all of this is just the beginning of the problems that you and your generation will contend with in the years to come. We are also seeing the growing scarcity of water for drinking and for agriculture. That is a major cause of increased migration and political violence. For example, the city of Cape Town, South Africa, recently announced that it is about to completely run out of water, and it has imposed severe rationing. And in the world's oceans, there has been a serious decline in fishery stocks and a destruction of coral reefs, to name just a few of the effects that global climate change has had so far. It is indeed what has been called a tragedy of the commons, of a size and scope that William Foster Lloyd, the Victorian-era economist who coined the term in 1833, could not possibly have imagined. And this tragedy, characterized by a failure to sustain our planet's ambient temperature and air and water quality, now threatens to be accelerated and made worse by the U.S. decision to withdraw from the Global Climate Change Agreement. As a result, the United States is now isolated with only one other country, Syria, as the only nations that are not party to and abiding by this agreement. Hardly a position we should want our country to be in. William Foster Lloyd also could not have imagined the vast resources, scientific knowledge, and technological solutions that we and the rest of the world have at our disposal and that we have come to rely upon. Take, for example, the multitude of research collaborations that span the globe with scientists working together, connected by the internet, traveling across international borders in the quest to gather data and to make new discoveries to understand and predict the impacts of climate change, to prevent and cure diseases, including highly communicable diseases like Ebola and Zika, to explore outer space and understand our planet, and to develop new technologies in computer science and artificial intelligence that are bringing advances, including self-driving vehicles, personal robots, and computerized medical diagnosis. Consider, too, that food and thousands of other items are now shipped across the oceans on a daily basis by airplane and by ship, and thereby making it possible for the population of the United States and other countries to receive fresh produce that they would not otherwise have access to. All of this, of course, would be highly vulnerable to trade disruptions, including trade wars. And the explosion of the internet has not only dramatically changed the way people get information, but it has also facilitated connections between people in rural areas, and particularly in the developing world, between urban centers and rural villages, which is helping to advance the economy in those places. But of course, it also makes us more vulnerable to problems of hacking and theft of personal identity. In short, this is not the time for any nation to be building barriers and walls, to be abandoning critically important international trade and arms control agreements, or to be imposing trade barriers. Too much is at stake for our planet, and there is too many urgent needs that the world can only address as a global community. As you graduate, these issues and challenges are and will remain a major part of the world that you now inhabit. and they are going to demand your attention. Whether you are headed to a career in business, in public affairs, in law, or in fields connected to arts and sciences. Equipped with your Baruch degree and the intelligence and tenacity that help get you admitted to Baruch and get you through college, you have what it takes to be leaders in your chosen fields. No matter what career path you pursue, as you go out into the world, I urge you to get involved in your community and engage in the political process at all levels. Some of you may even consider running for elective office at some point. Joining the ranks of many Baruch alumni who have served or who are currently serving in state and local government. This distinguished list includes both the immediate past Speaker of the New York City Council, Melissa Mark Viverito, and the current Speaker of the State Assembly, Carl Heastie. It also includes 5 additional State Assembly members, including most recently Yulene New, who was the first Asian American to represent Lower Manhattan and Chinatown. Other Baruchs, yeah, you can applaud, it's okay. Other Baruch graduates who are first elected to public office include Ron Kim, the first Korean American elected to the New York State Legislature. New York City Council member Francisco Moya, who is the first Ecuadorian American elected to public office in the United States. And Judge Carolyn Walker Diallo, who is the first Muslim woman elected to serve on the bench in New York State. But even if you do not pursue elective office yourself, you should understand and monitor your government and its actions. Voice your concerns regarding decisions and policies with which you do not agree, and by all means, vote. I have great confidence that we have prepared you well to contribute to the search for solutions to the problems that face our city, our country, and the world. Now it's up to you to find a way to contribute to your community and to society and to help preserve our democracy. I also hope that you will stay connected to the college and that as Baruch alumni, you will give back to your alma mater when you have time and financial means to do so. Beginning with our namesake, the legendary investor and international statesman Bernard M. Baruch, you have benefited from the generosity and the vision of alumni who came before you. Among the generous benefactors whose names will be familiar to you are the patrons of our 3 schools, all of whom are Baruch alumni. Larry Zicklin of the Zicklin School of Business, George and Mildred Weissman of the Weissman School of Arts and Sciences, and most recently, Austin W. Marks, who is honored here today, of the Marks School of Public and International Affairs. Our college has graduated generations of individuals who have gone on to have extraordinary success in business and in numerous other professions. Many have subsequently chosen to give back to the college as mentors and as benefactors. They have supported scholarships and have created opportunities to improve our programs and our facilities. So I'm counting on your generation of Baruch graduates to do the very same thing, to help pay it forward to the benefit of generations of students who will follow you. As a testament to the Baruch spirit, I'd like to extend a special welcome and round of applause to the alumni of the classes of 1968 and 1958 who have come back to mark their 50th and 60th reunions. I'm delighted you could join us. Finally, to everyone who is a candidate for graduation at today's commencement, I want you to know that the members of the faculty and staff of Baruch College are proud of you, I am proud of you, and you have every right to be proud of yourself for your accomplishments. And as you celebrate your own achievement, I think it is important to remember that you almost certainly did not reach this day of graduation all on your own. I would venture to guess that every single one of you can name an individual or a handful of people who helped you get to this point. And I'm not necessarily referring to the person or persons who may have provided financial support that enabled you to attend college. I'm also talking about the people who gave you emotional support and encouragement that helped you to overcome obstacles and to reach this milestone. In most cases, this will be your parents, but it also may be a spouse, a partner, your children, your extended family, an employer, or close friends. Hopefully, many of these special people are here today to witness your graduation and to help you celebrate. So this is really their day as well. So now I want to invite all of the graduates, both undergraduate and graduate, to rise and join me in thanking the special people who make everything possible to support your academic journey. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Thank you. Please sit down. Now let us proceed with honoring this year's salutatorian and valedictorian, Provost Christie.
Thank you, President Wallerstein. I would now like to introduce two very impressive members of the class of 2018. First, I would like to acknowledge this year's salutatorian who spoke at our recent Student Achievement Awards ceremony. Kevin Savarese, would you please rise and be recognized? Kevin Savarese is being awarded a Bachelor of Business Administration with a major in economics and a double minor in business law and New York City studies. During his time at Baruch, Mr. Savarese was inducted into Beta Gamma Sigma Honor Society, Phi Eta Sigma National Honor Society, and the Golden Key International Honor Society. He was active in the Max Berger Pre-Law Fellows Program in the Star Career Development Center. A Macaulay Honors Scholar, he also participated in the Pre-Law Club, the Business Club, and the Outward Bound programs at Macaulay, and co-founded the Photography Club there. When he wasn't busy with all of his studies, Mr. Savarese volunteered at his former elementary school, PS 185 in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, as a math and English language arts tutor, working hundreds of hours to help students prepare for the state exams. He also held internships at the Office of the Special Advisor to the Chancellor of CUNY and at Duane Morris LLP. Upon graduation, he will enter Fordham University School of Law with a merit scholarship. Congratulations. And now I would like to introduce your valedictorian, Patricia Kozikowska, who will address the class. Patricia Kozikowska graduates with a Bachelor of Arts degree with double major in political science and economics. She has been active in many campus organizations, including as secretary and then president of the Polish Culture Club. An advocate to the core, she has also supported the He for She movement, a United Nations initiative dedicated to global gender equality, and has served as a member of the nonprofit Forte Foundation, a consortium of companies and business schools working together to empower women. In addition, she has volunteered with local businesses on summer cleanups of the Bay of Long Beach, New York. Ms. Kozikowska was a 2017 Rhodes Scholarship nominee, and she received the 2016 Phenomenal Woman Award from the Baruch College Women's History Month Committee. She also earned the 2014 Comptroller's Achievement Award in Economics and Finance in Nassau County. Since 2014, she has held various internships, most recently as a risk and analytics summer analyst at BlackRock Incorporated. That has resulted in full-time employment offer after graduation, but that's not all. BlackRock has agreed to hold her position for a year as she pursues a master's degree in international relations and politics at the University of Cambridge for the next academic year. Please join me in congratulating Patricia.
Thank you, Provost Christie. Good morning, President Wallerstein, Provost Christie, Chancellor Milliken, deans, faculty, staff, distinguished guests, the entire Baruch community, and most especially, the class of 2018. Woo! Go Bearcats! Congratulations to our salutatorian, Kevin Savarese, who's going to law school this fall. I have some good news for us all. In 3 years, we'll know at least one good lawyer. First, I would like to welcome the families of fellow graduates. Thank you for your invaluable support and understanding when you didn't see us for days during finals. Mom and Dad, thank you for your unconditional love and for pushing me to be an open-minded person. Class of 2018, congratulations, we made it. Despite the sleepless nights we've endured during our last weeks of Baruch, I think we look pretty great today, right? As we reflect on the last 4 years, nostalgic memories come to mind. Some make us laugh and smile, while others prompt feelings of sadness, even fear. The moment when we checked our final grades for BPL 5100 or econometrics classes naturally falls in the latter category. Talk about tears of joy. Well, I hope you saved some for today, as it is a day of success and celebration for us and for our loved ones, who oftentimes sacrificed a great deal so that we could earn our undergraduate degrees at one of the finest public colleges in the nation. My parents have been talking about framing the diploma since I told them that I would most likely pass the science course requirement for graduation. And if you speak to any of my high school friends, they'll tell you that this alone is a success for me. But more importantly, during that conversation with my parents, I realized how much joy Baruch gave my family and me, for which I'm incredibly grateful. Like many of you, I was not born in New York or the United States, and English is definitely not my first language. So if you hear a Polish accent, that means either I am very nervous to speak to a special crowd like you, or that I had one too many mimosas beforehand. My point is not to reveal my brunch drink of choice, but to highlight how diverse and liberating the Baruch experience has been to me and to many around us. In the last 4 years, what sometimes felt like an eternity, we empowered ourselves with knowledge and professional experiences acquired with the help of our faculty, career services, and the wonderful network of Baruch alumni, all while working together as a community to better the lives of fellow CUNY students, New Yorkers, and citizens around the world. And if that sounds like a cliche PR line to you, then please allow me to prove otherwise. As a community, we've organized fundraisers for local homeless and women's shelters. Our club leaders hosted professional networking events open to all CUNY students and aimed to enhance the social mobility for which CUNY is famous. We raised awareness about programs such as the Peace Corps, whose mission is to build a better and more open global society. And we fought for justice for our dreamers. And these are only a few projects which we collectively spearheaded. The commitment to community building and diversity of thought are not just buzzwords on Baruch's marketing brochures. These are our core strengths. For those in the crowd unfamiliar with what being Baruch truly entails, it means that Baruch students speak more than 130 languages, represent approximately 168 countries, and come from diverse religious, cultural, ethnic, and economic backgrounds. But don't take my word for it. The Chronicle of Higher Education recently listed Baruch in their top 20 four-year public colleges with the greatest racial and ethnic diversity ranking, and recognized our institution as #1 for social mobility among four-year public institutions. And this year, we even have been named as the top producer of Fulbright U.S. students. Yeah. Don't worry, I promise to stop with the statistics right here. When I interviewed for internships, I was often asked, why did you choose Baruch? In my first 2 years, my go-to response was the excellent quality of affordable education and the school's location in New York City, our campus, as I've learned during my college tour. And if I try to be clever, I would half jokingly say, well, my education got me this interview with your firm. Yet, today, after spending countless hours in class with you all, debating topics ranging from public policy to technological innovation, after learning more about the immigration challenges that many of us especially now face, and after discovering your stories of struggles and victories while sharing a laugh or a cry over missing time with loved ones, wherever they may be, I have a different response. One that better depicts the true value of our education at Baruch. I'm thrilled to say I chose Baruch because it provided me with an excellent set of skills for the current job market. But what I found even more important is how it continuously empowers me to raise my hand and not settle for half-truths, but instead curiously seek the whole truth. To offer an act of kindness to reassure individuals who are disadvantaged or excluded. Spend enough time at Baruch, and you will see students sharing with each other advice on how to stand out during a job interview or how to use the on-campus resources available to our international students, our immigrants, working student parents, and those struggling financially. Our community's collective intelligence and our will to reproduce it is one of the greatest gifts Baruch has given me, and I am sure many of you can say the same. This set of values doesn't only land us that corner office, it also grows our character, instills principles of justice, and deepens empathy and a sense of responsibility to our local and global community. Today particularly, these drivers of change appear to be more necessary than we have ever seen in our short lives. Now, it's not my intention to say that Bearcats have figured it all out in the competition of life or to persuade you of my idealistic beliefs, but really, we have learned so much in our time here. Don't you agree? Today, I believe we can leave Baruch with a token of hope. If, like myself, you feel uncertain of what you want to achieve after walking out of these doors, or if you feel that you do not yet know your true self as conventional wisdom prompts us to, then I want to remind you of the gift we've received at Baruch, a set of principles to guide our ambition and a community eager to support the change, big or small, we wish to create. As I leave this special institution that is defined by our perseverance to expand our horizons and willpower to chase after our dreams, I now feel prepared on my next journey at Cambridge. I'm sharing this with you to illustrate how the set of values instilled in us during our undergraduate years can lead to transformative results for us and for our families. But with opportunity also comes responsibility. The knowledge we have acquired at Baruch now prompts us to be agents of change. Fellow graduates, I hope today you will ask yourself, what will I do to make our society a little better? Lastly, I would like to share with you some words of encouragement by Francis Scott Fitzgerald. Quote, "It is never too late to be whoever you want to be. I hope you live a life you're proud of. And if you find that you are not, I hope you have the strength to start over." End quote. Bearcats, when you find yourself searching for that strength, I hope you remember that our community is here for you. Class of 2018, it's been a pleasure to learn with you. Good luck and congratulations.
Thank you, Patricia, and congratulations. We hope you'll keep in touch and let us know how your journey unfolds. First, let me bring some good news. We're almost at the main event, so hang in there. But first, it is a time-honored tradition to give the president of the undergraduate student government and ask him or her to address the graduating class. But this year, the president of the undergraduate student government is Isabel Arias, is a junior. But I would nevertheless like to thank Isabel, who was on the stage here, and thank her for her service to the college, and as she steps down at the end of the academic year and a new USG president takes office for 2018-19. To deliver this year's undergraduate USG address, however, we are delighted to have one of Baruch's most historically important student government presidents with us. He is Max Berger, the president of the Baruch College Fund, and he is here as a member of the class of 1968, celebrating his 50th anniversary as a Baruch graduate. Like many of you, Max was the first in his family to go to college. He worked his way through Baruch and then attended Columbia Law School on a scholarship. He went on to form a highly successful law firm, dedicating his career to fighting fraud on behalf of investors. It's no surprise that the National Law Journal has named Max Berger as one of the 100 most influential lawyers in America. Max will tell you more about how he led the USG at an extraordinary time, successfully fighting what was then called the Board of Higher Education to have Baruch become an independent senior college within the CUNY system. I will tell you that Max's passion for Baruch and what is right for Baruch has never waned over the ensuing 5 decades. He has served the Baruch College Fund Board since 2003, and he became president of the board in 2015. Last year, he led a dedicated scholarship campaign, we believe the first ever in CUNY, that raised $21 million for student scholarships. He also established the Max Berger pre-law program, which our salutatorian, Kevin Severisi, and others have benefited from, and he has been a most generous donor to Baruch College. And over the past 2 years, Max has again been leading an extraordinary effort to protect the college and all of CUNY by opposing proposed state legislation that would have been highly damaging to the fundraising mission of the Baruch College Fund. Max took it upon himself to organize a coalition of foundation presidents from Hunter, John Jay, Brooklyn College, and other senior colleges to challenge this provision. Such an organizational effort was without precedent and had never been attempted before. Among other things, it involved drafting and disseminating a joint letter to the governor and conducting aggressive outreach to state legislatures and key state officials. Max Berger organized and led all of this while he had a very busy day job. His efforts were both tenacious and unrelenting, and they were highly successful. We are deeply grateful, Max, for your inspired leadership and lifelong commitment to Baruch. We truly wouldn't be where we are today without you. So without further ado, I give you my friend and personal hero, Max Berger.
Whoa, I feel like I just attended my own funeral. What a glorious day. It's just so special to be here. And thank you, President Wallerstein. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, everyone, for the incredibly kind and generous words. And of course, my heartfelt congratulations to our graduates and your families and friends who supported your journey to this day. Congratulations. It's so wonderful to be sharing this occasion with you, particularly because it also happens to be, as you've heard, the 50th anniversary of the birth of Baruch College as an independent institution, as well as the 50th year since I sat where you are now. Let's hear it for the class of '68. Class of '68. We're still standing. We all walked down the aisle without assistance, and the class of '58. Let's hear it for the class of '58. You know, all over the city and the state, there are graduation ceremonies taking place. As I prepared my remarks today, I just wanted to share with all of you why this particular graduation is so profoundly meaningful to me. So here it goes. A bit of history. I remember like yesterday sitting in my high school auditorium holding the application that asked me to select my first choice of City University colleges. Like many of you, a private college was not an option for me, and of course, like most of you, I didn't feel the least bit deprived. I just looked at the list and said, a great combined business and liberal arts education would provide me with the foundation for future success. So naturally, my first choice was Baruch, then the Baruch School of the City College of New York, CCNY. I have to confess I barely made the cut, but luckily I started in 1964. I was 18 years old and full of hope and dreams and energy. I paid my $50 tuition for the full semester, sorry everyone, and was off and running. We had a campus with no trees, and we learned from the best and the brightest. Like most of my classmates, I immediately started working to help to support myself through school. We had an outstanding time working hard and playing hard. None of us came from privileged backgrounds, so I believed we were hungrier and more earnest, and we all shared a common dream that without Baruch degrees, we could go on to achieve anything in life. Then in 1967, the axe dropped. When I was a junior and vice president of the Student Council, a committee of CUNY, then the Board of Higher Education, recommended converting Baruch into a 2-year upper division business college. Well, I knew that would destroy the school. So did my classmates. It would not be possible to build a campus life and identity in 2 years. For most of us at Baruch, myself included, we had no place else to go for a quality 4-year business and liberal arts education. So with the support of the student body, alumni, and faculty, we decided to lead a fight to defeat this recommendation. We quickly learned that recommendations like this were always, I mean always, adopted by the board. Instead of giving up, though, like true Baruchians, that knowledge simply toughened our resolve to fight harder for what we thought was right. I felt I had no choice but to try with all my heart to save my school and preserve it for future generations like you all sitting before me. We quickly mobilized the student body and launched a campaign to sway public opinion. We enlisted the support of prominent alumni and led a mock funeral procession in caps and gowns like you're wearing today from Baruch to the steps of the Board of Higher Education, where the coffin of Baruch was removed from a hearse, placed on the steps of the board, and I delivered a eulogy to Baruch. Incredibly, I managed to dig up my eulogy from my mother's famous archives of everything our children ever did in their lives. I actually think it was next to my first grade report card. So I won't read it all to you, but it went something like this, and I'm going to quote a portion of the eulogy. And I quote, "If one agrees that Baruch has served the ideals of the founders of the Free City University, it has carried out its special mission to the citizens of New York City with honor and proven success. It has provided this city and this nation with countless leaders in commerce, industry, and public service. If all this is true, we must then ask why those who should share the joys of its accomplishments condemn the school to dismemberment. Will the Board of Higher Education close the lid of this coffin and inter Baruch for eternity so that only a memory of its glory is left as a legacy? Your answer must be no. While there is still breath, life, and vigor in our college community, we will not let it die. We implore the board to listen to the words of Daniel Webster as he defended Dartmouth College before the Supreme Court. He said, "It is a small college, sir, but there are those who love it." Well, I'm sorry. Sorry. Well, against all odds, we won. Baruch not only remained a four-year college, but was severed from CCNY and given complete autonomy. That was 50 years ago. Now, I'm not sure we knew the full extent of what we were fighting for back then. 1968 was a tumultuous time. We knew that this wonderful life and opportunity and education that Baruch gave us would be destroyed, but I can't say we focused then on the more overarching issues. Not until much later did I realize what, together with hundreds of my fellow students, meant, a number of whom are sitting here with me now celebrating our 50th anniversary. Until much later, we realized that we helped save the American dream for tens of thousands of children of working-class families whose choices were limited, but whose dreams and hopes were limitless. And let it be a lesson. It wasn't until much later that I realized that the core values that motivate me in my professional career and keep my fire burning were formed at Baruch. As you know, today Baruch College is the brightest star in the city university system. You've heard that from a number of speakers, serving thousands upon thousands of upwardly mobile children of immigrants and working-class families with an outstanding four-year college education and graduate school. And as you've heard from the prior speakers, it is also the most diverse college in the nation. The surnames and countries of origin are quite different than my days at Baruch. But at bottom, the dreams and opportunity Baruch provided to achieve them remains the same. To see the joy and pride on the faces of your family and friends, and to see the hope on the faces of you graduates is something that will never get old and will always inspire. You rock, class of 18, you rock. You are the living embodiment of what is great about our country and our college, that ensures that the children and grandchildren of poverty and privilege all have the opportunity to end up in the same place. I've been so blessed in my life in so many ways, and I try not to take things for granted. One of those things was the decision to check off the box marked Baruch as choice number one in my high school auditorium back in 1964, and the tremendous impact that decision made in my life. From the bottom of my heart, I wish you congratulations, continued success, good health and happiness as you move on. But I implore you, please don't forget our responsibility to the generations of Baruch students to come. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Max, for that extraordinary history. And while we are no longer a small college, there are still, like you, many who love it. Today, we also celebrate our wonderful faculty, some of whom are seated here on the platform. The faculty is the intellectual heart and soul of any college, and at Baruch, we are blessed with superbly talented scholars. People who pursue careers in academia are making a commitment to preserve and expand our knowledge and understanding. They do this in part through their own scholarship and in part through the knowledge and understanding of the world that they have imparted to you, our graduates. Members of the faculty have worked very hard to help you succeed academically and to take the next step in achieving your dreams. So I invite you to take this opportunity to rise and thank them. Thank you very much. Every year we also identify outstanding scholars who are worthy of our Presidential Excellence Awards. As difficult as it is to narrow the field, Baruch College community selects individuals who are exceptional educators and experts in their fields. These individuals will be honored in the fall and when we hold an inaugural faculty convocation, but we'd like to recognize them today. Will Mitchell Cohen please join President Wallerstein at the front of the stage? Today, the Presidential Excellence Award for Distinguished Faculty Scholarship goes to Mitchell Cohen, Professor of Political Science in the Weissman School of Arts and Sciences. Dr. Cohen specializes in 19th and 20th century political theory and contemporary European and Middle Eastern politics. He teaches courses on political thought, American government, comparative government, and the politics of literature. His most recent publication is The Politics of Opera, a history from Monteverdi to Mozart, published by Princeton University Press. Congratulations. We present the award for distinguished teaching to a member of the full-time faculty, to Nancy Aries, professor in the Marx School of Public and International Affairs. Dr. Aries has been engaged in both academic administration and research at Baruch College, and she has served as director of the Baruch College Honors Programs for 6 years. Her areas of research are in health policy and management, and she has published in the top academic journals of her field. Congratulations. Finally, the Presidential Excellence Award for Distinguished Teaching among the adjunct faculty goes to Dr. Claudia Hallback. Dr. Hallback teaches political science at Baruch. Since 2009, she has taught U.S. political economy, comparative politics, and capstone courses on property rights and democracies. Her research interests are on property rights and regime types, ownership and political participation, and the politics of takings. Congratulations. Now, there is a time-honored tradition in higher education of presenting honorary doctoral degrees to people who have made significant differences in society. These degrees are presented honoris causa, meaning for an honorable cause or reason, and they are the highest honor Baruch College confers upon individuals for other than academic achievement. I now ask David Birdsell, Marks Dean of the Marks School of Public and International Affairs, to escort our first honorary degree recipient to the podium.
Austin W. Marks, your life and career embody the social mobility Baruch prides itself on. A native New Yorker, you grew up in a family of modest means and attended public schools. CUNY was your only affordable college option, and you always worked to help pay your way. After watching your father struggle at a big company, you decided that you wanted to be your own boss. Accounting was your way forward, allowing you to understand how companies worked. After graduating in 1965, you worked at accounting firms and were on track to become a partner. But your sights were set higher. Fascinated with the market, you began using money from your wedding presents to invest in obscure companies. You developed a small following and eventually broke into the brokerage business. You convinced the New York City investment firm Prudential Beige to take a chance on you. Success came quickly, and after founding the Special Situations Fund in 1985, you and an investor took the endeavor private in 1991 and named it AWM Investment Company. Today, you are president and managing director of the employee-owned firm, one that supports small companies that would not otherwise be financeable. You have also always given back. In 2007, you made a gift to the Baruch College Fund to purchase Bloomberg terminals, and since 2011, you have supported the Scholarship Fund. In 2015, you endowed the Austin Marks Scholarship for promising incoming freshmen, and in 2016, you made a $30 million gift to Baruch, the largest ever received by the college. Your generosity named and endowed the Austin W. Marks School of Public and International Affairs and will propel the dreams and ambitions of students for generations to come. Mitch actually has to do. Mitch, this is your. You have to convert it right. Sorry, let me step around.
Austin W. Marks, in recognition of your exemplary accomplishments in finance and for your profound dedication to your alma mater, Baruch College is proud to bestow upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa. Let me now invite Dr. Austin Marks to make a few remarks.
It is truly my honor to be here with you. The world has become a very divisive place where it's become very difficult to separate truth from lies, and bigotry has unfortunately become commonplace. This is your opportunity to go out in the world and make your own lives better and the lives of your families better, but also to contribute to your communities. And through that process, hopefully make the world better for generations to come. Thank you for inviting me to your graduation.
I now ask Dr. Esther Allen, professor in the Department of Modern Languages and Comparative Literature, to escort our second honorary degree recipient, who is also this year's commencement speaker, to the podium.
Hey, everybody. Jane Chu, you are a special role model and inspiration to Baruch's students, as you very uniquely represent an intersection of all three schools at our college. You hold a bachelor's degree in piano performance and music education, and master's degrees in music and piano pedagogy. You also have an MBA and a PhD in philanthropic studies. Thus, in your own well-rounded educational background, you represent Baruch's Weissman School of Arts and Sciences, the Zicklin School of Business, and the Marx School for Public Affairs. You currently serve as the 11th chair of the National Endowment for the Arts. Leading a dedicated and passionate group of people to support and fund the arts and creative activities in communities across the nation. Toward that end, you have visited hundreds of communities in all 50 states to see firsthand how the arts are impacting people and places. During your tenure, you have awarded more than $409 million in grants to nonprofit organizations and artists. And you have issued new research reports on arts participation and the impact of the arts and cultural industries on the nation's gross domestic product. You launched the United States of Arts, a project that demonstrates the importance of the arts in our communities and in our lives. In 2015, you spearheaded your signature leadership initiative, Creativity Connects, to investigate the current state of the arts in our nation and explore how the arts connect with other industries. You also oversaw multiple year increases to the NEA's congressional budget appropriation to expand its military healing arts initiative, Creative Forces. In addition, under your leadership, the NEA ranked first among small agencies in best places to work in the federal government for 2016, which is a real testament to your management style. That concludes the citation, but on a personal note, and on behalf of my colleagues in the field of literary translation, some of whom are graduating here today, I want to say that we are infinitely grateful to you, Dr. Chu, for your strong support for our work. In a National Endowment for the Arts publication about literary translation titled The Art of Empathy, you wrote, "Bringing other voices to the American public, voices we might not hear otherwise, makes the country as a whole a better place. Given the wide array of ethnicities and traditions in this country, translation helps bring us together and accept the differences among us." End of citation. Your strong sense of the crucial importance of cross-cultural connectedness is something you have in common, Dr. Chu, with the Baruch graduates whose achievements we are celebrating here today.
Thank you, Esther. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Aldemaro Romero, Jr., Dean of the Weissman School of Arts and Sciences, to help present this honorary degree.
Well, thank you. Jane Chu, in recognition of your extraordinary accomplishments, Baruch College is proud to bestow upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
Well, thank you so much. I want to thank Baruch College, President Wallerstein, Chancellor Milliken, and the Board of Trustees of the University of New York, Baruch College faculty, graduates. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to participate in the commencement with you. The reputation of Baruch College precedes my joining you here today, because not only are you empowering the students with a solid education, but you have created a learning environment, an inclusive learning environment, an environment that respects the heritage and the traditions of the students, so that these students will be our future leaders with their knowledge and in bringing people together, people from all walks of life, people from a variety of perspectives, and now to be able to receive such a tremendous honor from Baruch College is humbling for me and very meaningful. We live in a time that's filled with constant change, and there is new information that's zipping in and out from multiple directions simultaneously, and most everybody has some type of opinion, and everybody wants their opinion heard, especially if it's different from ours. We used to look for leaders who were in-depth experts in one specific subject, and that type of knowledge is still very valuable. But now we need leaders who can sort through and bring together all the disparate pieces and who will find new solutions to bringing multiple perspectives together, especially leaders who are comfortable with leading change. And so if I had only one objective today, it would be that you would graduate knowing that those kind of leadership qualities are already within you, and they've been broadened and deepened by your education here at Baruch College, and you're going to be able to draw upon these leadership qualities whenever you need them, so the world is at your fingertips. So today I want to focus on that type of leadership, the leadership that's needed anytime there's ambiguity, anytime there's a challenge to doing something different from the way we've always done it. We will encounter the need for this type of leadership on some level. Perhaps it'll only occur once in a lifetime. Sometimes it'll just occur occasionally. And sometimes ambiguity happens every day. And so these occasions of uncertainty call upon us to muster up that kind of leadership that keeps us moving forward, that kind of leadership that addresses change. So some of the questions that accompany the call for leadership in the midst of change are, when you don't know where the path is, which direction should you take? And how do you know if you're moving forward? How do you muster up the courage to keep going when everybody around you resists change? So in order to address these questions, I turn to my mother's story, Rosemary's story of 70 years ago when Rosemary was a teenager. Rosemary lived in China in the city of Qingdao, and today it is an absolutely beautiful city of 8 million people. But when she was growing up, Qingdao was a fishing community with a population of about 55,000, and it was the 1940s, and Rosemary lived with her 3 sisters and her brother, the children of a Lutheran minister and his wife. And Rosemary's father had a church in Qingdao where there were many activities. Missionaries from other countries, including the United States, regarded this church as a hub, a place to be, where they visited and they lived and they worked alongside parishioners. And so as a teenager in this beautiful coastal community, Rosemary and her siblings could go to the Long Bridge and run along the seashore and gather clams and catch fresh seafood and live the traditional Chinese life. And Rosemary's father could have been described as a risk taker. He had a very strong belief in helping people have their dignity and their independence to become the best they could be, and his church sermons and his own actions reflected his beliefs. So in 1949, China underwent change in the government, and during this time of change, there was ambiguity, a lot of restrictions with less freedom to conduct the life the way they knew before, and there was oppression and violence. And Rosemary's father could sense that change was about to happen. So he assessed the status of his own family, and he prepared his family to advance the ambiguity, to be prepared for it, that it was about to happen. So Rosemary was a teenager, though, and she had just finished her senior year in high school, and she was at the age where she could do anything she wanted with her life. Rosemary's parents decided she would leave her hometown of Qingdao by herself and go to Hong Kong, where her uncle and aunt and her cousins lived. So over the months, there had been a lot of unrest in China, and Rosemary had graduated from high school, but there had been no graduation ceremony. And so by now, the summer months had arrived, and there wasn't a lot of time for Rosemary to prepare for leaving her hometown. The new restrictions limited activities in the community. Communication was prohibited at the time. You couldn't travel without permission, even to go from one local community to another, and those found to violate those travel and communication rules were punished and jailed. So, with no way of alerting Rosemary's uncle and aunt that she would be leaving her hometown and coming to Hong Kong, Rosemary's parents quietly and inconspicuously walked her to the train station. There was a slow-moving train that was carrying cargo and passengers, and it was going from Qingdao to Hong Kong, and it would be an 8-day trip. Rosemary carried no luggage. She had no travel permission from the government. She was undocumented. She carried luggage. If she had carried luggage, it would have given away her travel plans, and they didn't want that because they all knew that there would be challenges ahead for her parents once she was gone if there was discovered that there would be a missing family member, and she didn't want that. So Rosemary put on 8 pairs of underwear, one over the other, and her parents gave her some travel money. She put her money in her underwear, and she and her parents agreed not to contact each other once she left. It's not like they had Skype or anything. This is 1949. There would not be a communication trail between Rosemary and her family for fear that the family she was leaving behind would be harmed. So on August 7th, 1950, at the train station in Qingdao, Rosemary said a quiet goodbye to her parents, not knowing if she'd ever see them again, which she never did. So the train trip would take 8 days, and it covered more than 1,000 miles, and it stopped at every village between Qingdao and Hong Kong, and the procedure was that at each stop, the officials would get on the train, and they would inspect the travel documents of every passenger, and those found to have no travel permission were taken off the train and jailed. So at each stop, that's what happened. The officials would get on the train, but as they approached Rosemary, the guards would inspect the permission papers of the passenger in front of her, and they would skip her and inspect the passenger papers of the person behind her. And so this happened every time. Between Qingdao and Hong Kong, they skipped her 141 times. So decades later, I asked why she thought she was overlooked so many times, and she said, "I don't know why, but I just remember thinking to myself, if you're not going to bother me, I'm not going to bother you." So finally the train reached Hong Kong, and Rosemary got off, now realizing she would need a British passport to enter, as Hong Kong was governed by the British at the time. And the crowd waiting at the gate was large, and the lines to enter the gate were inordinately long. And so Rosemary looked around. People like her without travel documents were trying to climb over the gate fences of Hong Kong. They tried to swim into the harbor to find an entry point into Hong Kong. The guards would shoot over their heads to stop them. She didn't want to be shot, and so she decided to wait in line instead. And so after many hours of waiting, Rosemary reached the entry gate, and she said to the British officials, "I don't have a British passport," but they waved her on in. At least she was now inside the boundaries of Hong Kong. So she had to figure out how to get to her uncle and aunt, who didn't know she was coming, since they were unable to communicate with each other. So Rosemary thought she had a general sense of where they lived. So she found a local train that she believed would take her into the inner city of Hong Kong. She took the rest of her money, and she bought a ticket, and she got on the inner city train. And as soon as the doors closed and the train began to move, Rosemary discovered that she had not boarded an inner city train that would take her into the city of Hong Kong. Rather, she had gotten on an express train that would take her outside of Hong Kong and to the nearby island of Kowloon. And it was the last train of the day, and it would not turn around and return to Hong Kong until the next day, so she was stuck and no more money. So 2 hours later, the train arrived in Kowloon, and Rosemary got off the train and began to wander around. She had no idea where she was. She had no more money. And she walked through a neighborhood and spotted an automobile that reminded her of the car that belonged to that missionary who had visited her father's church and worked alongside the parishioners before the missionaries had to leave a year earlier. And just the vision of that car reminded her of how homesick she was, and hunger set in. So she walked around some more, and finally she drifted back to the house where that familiar-looking car was parked. She walked up to the house and knocked on the door, and so this small peephole door within the front door opened to show the face of a housekeeper, and Rosemary said, any chance does Charles Rembrecht, the missionary who lived in Qingdao, live here? And the peephole door slammed shut as quickly as it had opened. Apparently, Rosemary had the face and the accent of a person who did not represent Hong Kong at the time, so she was perceived to be different. And the housekeeper behind the peephole door did not want to take the chance of opening the door to an unknown person. So Rosemary walked away from the house dejected, and a few minutes passed as she moved down the neighborhood block. And so unbeknownst to her, the housekeeper must have mentioned the peephole door experience to those inside the house, because suddenly the front door of that same house flung wide open. Out came running the missionary, Charles Rembrecht, running down the block to see her. He was so surprised to see her. He picked her up and he gave her a big hug, and he was filled with the kind of questions one might ask a teenager who was alone. What are you doing here? How did you get out? Where are your parents? He couldn't believe that she had left her home by herself. So come inside, said Charles Rembrecht. I have a surprise for you. Oh, good, Rosemary thought. Maybe he's going to take me to dinner because I'm starving. But when she walked into the house, there sitting on the couch in the living room was her uncle. He had never taken the time to visit the missionary in Kowloon until that day when he decided to make the trip to Kowloon. So Rosemary went to live with her uncle and aunt and her cousins. A couple of years later, their family, along with Rosemary, moved to the United States, where she attended college, and he made the United States her new home. So there are elements of Rosemary's story that can be applied to the questions of leadership proposed earlier. When you don't know where the path is, which direction should you take? How do you know when you're moving forward? And how do you muster up that courage to keep going when everybody around you resists change? Well, my mother modeled for me the value of creatively taking chances, and she ultimately reminded me that we all have the qualities within us for the type of leadership that we need, those qualities that can address change and that know how to stand in the middle of ambiguity without shrinking back. When others around us are placed in new situations and they say, I don't know what to do because it's never been done before, the creative leader knows how to build something out of nothing. And so they move away from being stuck and they open the door to new possibilities. That's one of the main reasons I personally love the arts so much, because the arts give us so many different pathways to express ourselves without force-fitting everybody to be exactly alike. Both of my parents were born in China. I was born in Oklahoma, and I grew up in Arkansas. And my daily activities were about simultaneously juggling multiple perspectives. So my parents spoke Mandarin to each other at home. I spoke English at school. They liked to eat bok choy and noodles. I liked to eat corn dogs and fried chicken. And although I often felt as if I had one foot in each of my cultures, it was the arts that gave me a world of my own, and those piano lessons that I was taking as an 8-year-old opened the door to creativity, and they helped me to be very comfortable with embracing multiple perspectives at the same time. So I didn't have to choose whether I was going to be Chinese or Arkansan. I didn't have to give up one perspective at the expense of the other perspective, because my world did not shrink to one perspective versus the other. Instead, my world was a bok choy corn dog world that would expand to include multiple perspectives. And we do not need to live in a world, whether it's about either this or that, we get to celebrate living in a world where it is about both this and that. So when you think about it, so many of those who are successful leaders have not necessarily been born into the most perfect conditions, but they have paid attention to their own creativity. That creativity is the ability to see things in a different way. It's the courage to step out and do something in a way that hasn't been done before. And it allows you to see the patterns and the connections and the possibilities when others don't see them. And so as leaders, we have a great opportunity to help ourselves as well as others to be creative and not remain stuck, to keep moving and to take those kind of creative risks that are necessary to making a positive impact on others and that bring out the good in us. So when we get into these ambiguous situations where we face harmful restrictions or somebody tries to judge us because we over here look or sound different from them over there, or when our world has turned upside down from what we knew and we have lost what we have before, you have so many resources available to you, more than anybody else in this room. If you had so many resources that we would be envious of you, or you may only have 8 pairs of underwear and the money in your underwear, but you have your creativity and you have your educational experience at Baruch College, and no one can take that away from you. We can step forward out of our safe comfort zones and use what is already within us to tackle problems, to keep moving for the purpose of making better our lives and the lives of those around us. So congratulations on your graduation, and go get them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chu, for those inspiring words and for the work you have done in promoting the arts in communities large and small across the United States. Thank you once again. A variety of awards and honors are also bestowed on our graduating students each year. There are too many, in fact, to be distributed or named at these exercises. To give these outstanding individuals the special recognition they deserve, Provost Christie and I, along with Art King, who is our Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Deans Birdsell, Huss, and Romero, conducted a separate ceremony on May 16th, where 224 awards were presented to more than 199 students. The awards recognize academic excellence, leadership, community involvement, athletic prowess, and outstanding achievements in specific disciplines. May I ask all of the students who received awards last week to rise and accept our congratulations. Thank you. And now, we are about to award 5,024 bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. Last week, in a CUNY-wide ceremony at David Geffen Hall, Baruch College also awarded 7 doctoral degrees in business to students who completed their coursework and their dissertations under the supervision of Baruch College faculty. We are proud to recognize those students today as graduates of Baruch College.
Ready? All right. It is now time for today's main event, the awarding of the degrees granted by Baruch College of the City University of New York. We're going to do this piece by piece, so listen up. I ask that all of you who are candidates for graduate degrees in the Austin W. Marks School of Public and International Affairs please rise. Graduate degrees. Presenting the candidates is Marks Dean David Birdsell.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, with our school's namesake and most generous benefactor, Austin Marks, here today, it is a special honor to present our candidates for the class of 2018. Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty of the Austin W. Marks School of Public and International Affairs, I am pleased to present to you the candidates for Master of Public Administration, Executive Master of Public Administration, Master of Science in Education and Educational Leadership, and Master of Science in Higher Education Administration. And I respectfully request that they be awarded the degrees earned. These 274 men and women represent the future of our government, our schools, our universities, and nonprofit organizations. Knowing many of them, I can attest that we have every reason to be optimistic about the future of our community. Accepting a symbolic diploma on behalf of his classmates is Edwin Torres.
Please be seated. Sure.
Before we continue, I would like to extend my personal congratulations to Ms. Kenya Lee, who is among those receiving an MSED in Higher Education Administration today. Kenya is the Baruch College Chief of Staff, and she is an integral part of the college's leadership team. Like many of today's graduates, she has worked full-time while pursuing her degree on a part-time basis. And she is now poised to start work on her PhD degree, which means that someday she can take my job. Congratulations, Kenya, and keep up that incredible, amazing spirit and work that you're doing. We are very proud of you and all of the other graduates.
Hi, Kenya. I now ask that all of you who are candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree in the Marks School of Public and International Affairs to please rise.
Mr. President, once again, on behalf of the faculty of the Marks School of Public and International Affairs, I am proud to present you these students from among 52 candidates for the Bachelor of Science degree, and respectfully ask that they be awarded the degree earned. Accepting a symbolic diploma for the candidates is Paul Gagliardi.
Please be seated. Will all the candidates for graduate degrees in the George and Mildred Weissman School of Arts and Sciences please rise? Presenting the candidates is Dean Aldemaro Romero, Jr.
Thank you. Good morning. Mr. President, on behalf of the Weissman School faculty, I am pleased to present to you these fine students from among the 161 candidates for the Masters of Arts, Masters of Science, Masters of Arts in Corporate Communication, Master of Arts in Mental Health Counseling, Master of Science in Financial Engineering, Master of Science in Industrial Organization Psychology, and Master of Arts Administration degrees, and respectfully request that you award them the degree earned. Accepting a symbolic diploma on behalf of all these candidates is Roberta Evans.
Please be seated. Will all the candidates for the bachelor's degree in the Weisman School of Arts and Sciences please rise?
Mr. President, I am now honored to present to you these students from among 986 candidates for the Bachelor's of Arts degree in the Weisman School of Arts and Sciences. They have pursued a traditional liberal arts curriculum while taking advantage of the professional training available to them, and as a result, Mr. President, they are ready for anything. I respectfully ask that you award them the degree earned. Accepting a symbolic diploma on behalf of the candidates is Jennifer Michael.
Please be seated. I now ask that all of you who are candidates for graduate degrees in the Zicklin School of Business please rise. Graduate degrees. Presenting the candidates is Dean Fenwick Huss.
Mr. President, I proudly present candidates from the following degrees: MBA, Executive MBA, MBA in Healthcare Administration, Master of Science, Executive Master of Science, International Executive Master of Science, and the Master of Science in Industrial and Labor Relations. The Zicklin School of Business is proud to send these 789 men and women into leadership positions around the world. On behalf of the faculty, I respectfully ask that you award them the degrees earned. Accepting a symbolic degree on behalf of the class is Angela Jimenez Riano.
Please be seated. Now, finally, will all the candidates for the Bachelor of Business Administration in the Zicklin School of Business please rise?
Mr. President, I am honored to present to you 2,736 candidates for the Bachelor of Business Administration degree. Clearly, these talented and motivated graduates will go very far. On behalf of the faculty, I respectfully ask that you award their degrees as earned. Accepting a symbolic diploma on behalf of the class is Michael Soro.
This is fun. I now ask all of the candidates from all of the schools to rise together for the conferral of their degrees. President Wallerstein, on behalf of the entire faculty of the Bernard M. Baruch College of the City University of New York, I ask that you confer the degrees upon the candidates that have been assembled here today. In accord with honor tradition, we ask that upon the confirmation of your degree, graduating students move the tassel from the right side of your mortarboard to the left.
Thank you, Chief Marshal. This is, without question, my favorite part of the ceremony and, in fact, of the entire academic year. Candidates, with the authority granted by the Charter of the State of New York to the CUNY Board of Trustees and delegated by the Board to me this day, I hereby confer upon you the degree for which you have worked so hard with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto. Congratulations!
Please be seated, graduates. Graduates, you have now joined that exceptional group, the alumni of Baruch College, who distinguished themselves in the rich commercial, civic, and cultural life of this great city and beyond. I want to thank our soloist, Teresa Parker, our Chief Marshal, Marco DeSena, and a great team of the college staff headed by Damali Smith and Kenya Lee for their wonderful contributions to today's celebration. It is fitting that the final act of these ceremonies is the singing of the Baruch College alma mater, led by Teresa Parker, director of the Baruch College Chorus. The words and music can be found on the overhead screens and in the front of your program. I invite you to rise and sing along.
Standing high above the city's mighty roar, Bernard Baruch, we sing to you now and evermore, praising you for years. We will always be proud to call you Alma Mater, jubilant and free. Knowledge of the world, the honor it will bring, are what you have given us. That is why we sing. Your dignity and strength makes our spirits soar. Bernard Baruch, we sing to you forevermore. Bernard Baruch, we sing to you forevermore.
Isn't she amazing? Thank you, Teresa, as always.
Mr. President, words of inspiration have been heard, songs have been sung, and degrees have been conferred. I will now ask everyone to please remain in their places until the faculty and platform party have left the stage. I hereby declare that these exercises of the 2018 commencement of Bernard M. Baruch College of the City University of New York are now concluded. Congrats and God bless.